The sun stood high and unforgiving in the pale blue sky, baking the cracked asphalt of the roadside fuel stop where engines rumbled and dust clung to everything like a second skin. Heat shimmered above the ground, bending the air, when a small shadow broke away from the curb and moved toward the line of parked motorcycles. The boy was thin, no older than 8. His clothes faded and too big in some places, too small in others. He held a bicycle by its rusted handlebars, the chain squeaking softly as it rolled. His eyes were far too serious for his age, carrying the weight of days that had stretched too long without food or comfort. When he reached the bikers, his voice trembled as he lifted the bike slightly, offering it like a fragile peace treaty, explaining that his mother had not eaten in 2 days. In that moment, time slowed, engines quieted, and hardened men felt something crack open inside them that no road, no storm, no fight ever had. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel Timeless Soul Story. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The bikers had been traveling together since morning, a loose brotherhood bound not just by leather vests and roaring engines, but by miles of shared silence and scars that never fully healed. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man named Rourke Calder, stood near his bike wiping sweat from his brow, his beard streaked with gray that spoke of years on the road. Around him were men of different ages and pasts, some former soldiers, some reformed fighters, all carrying histories they rarely spoke of. They had stopped only to refuel and stretch, expecting nothing more than the hum of traffic and the burn of midday heat. None of them expected a child with hollow cheeks and a bicycle held together by hope. The boy explained his situation in broken sentences, his hands gripping the bike as if afraid it might be taken before he finished. He lived nearby with his mother in a small apartment above an old tailor shop. The bike was the only thing he owned that still had value, and even that value was fading with rust and worn tires. His mother had been sick, unable to work, and whatever savings they had were gone. He was not begging for charity, only asking someone to buy the bike so she could eat. The bikers listened, their usual bravado melting away as the truth of the boy's hunger settled heavily between them. Rourke crouched slightly to the boy's level, studying the bicycle and then the child's face. He remembered being that age, remembering hunger as a constant ache and fear as a familiar companion. Without hesitation, he reached into his wallet and pulled out far more cash than the bike was worth, pressing it gently into the boy's hand. The boy's eyes widened, confusion mixing with relief, and he tried to protest, explaining that the bike was worth less. Rourke shook his head, telling him silently through his calm expression that the bike was priceless if it meant his mother would eat. The boy thanked them in a rush, his voice breaking as he wheeled the bike away, glancing back more than once as if afraid the kindness might disappear. As the engine started again and the group prepared to leave, something gnawed at Rourke. The story did not sit right. Hunger caused by illness was one thing, but something about the boy's urgency and fear hinted at deeper trouble. Rourke watched the direction the boy went, noticing how he cut through an alley instead of heading straight home. Against his usual instinct to keep moving forward, Rourke signaled to the others to wait. He mounted his bike and followed at a distance, the engine idling low as he rolled through narrow streets, lined with sun-bleached buildings and shuttered shops. The alley opened into a courtyard behind a row of apartments where laundry hung limp in the heat. Rourke parked discreetly and watched as the boy entered a stairwell. Moments later, a man stepped out from the shadows near the entrance, counting money with a smile that never reached his eyes. He was lean, sharply dressed despite the heat, with the posture of someone used to control. The man pocketed the cash and disappeared down the alley, leaving behind a chill that cut through the afternoon warmth. Rourke's jaw tightened. He had seen that kind of man before, the kind who fed on desperation. He waited, then followed the man at a distance, memorizing his path through the neighborhood. The trail led to a warehouse near the edge of town, its windows blacked out, its doors guarded by 2 men who scanned the street with practiced vigilance. Rourke did not confront them. He returned to the fuel stop, his mind racing. When he told the others what he had seen, anger flared. These men were no strangers to injustice. and the idea that someone was exploiting a hungry child and his sick mother ignited something fierce among them. They decided to act, not with reckless violence but with intention. One of the bikers, a quiet man named Silas Morrow, had connections from a past life he rarely acknowledged. Another, Jax Holloway, knew how to gather information without drawing attention. By the time the sun began its slow descent, they had a plan. They learned that the man was named Kellen Vire, a local loan shark who preyed on vulnerable families, offering quick cash in exchange for impossible repayment terms. When debts could not be paid, he took everything, appliances, furniture, even children's belongings, selling them or using them as leverage. The boy's mother had borrowed money when she fell ill, and now Kellen was squeezing every last drop from them, using fear to keep them silent. The bikers approached the situation with calculated calm. They contacted local authorities, providing evidence and anonymous tips, while also ensuring Kellen knew he was being watched. They made their presence known, parking their bikes near his warehouse, not threatening, just visible, a reminder that he was no longer operating in the shadows. Pressure mounted from all sides. Inspections were triggered, accounts scrutinized, and victims encouraged to speak when they realized they were not alone. Meanwhile, Rourke returned to the apartment above the tailor shop, this time in daylight, carrying bags of groceries and medical supplies. He knocked gently, not wanting to scare anyone. The boy answered, surprise flooding his face. Inside, the apartment was sparse, most furniture gone, the walls marked by where pictures once hung. The mother lay on a thin mattress, her face pale but her eyes sharp with maternal worry. Rourke explained why he was there, assuring her that help was not charity but a promise that no one should be allowed to starve in silence. Over the following days, the bikers became quiet guardians of the family. They arranged for medical care, ensuring the mother received proper treatment. They helped recover stolen items when authorities moved in on Kellen's operation. The bike was returned to the boy, cleaned and repaired, its bell shining in the sun. More importantly, the fear that had ruled their lives began to loosen its grip. Kellen Vire was eventually arrested, his network dismantled as more victims came forward. The warehouse was emptied not by thieves, but by officials cataloging evidence of exploitation that had gone on for years. News of the bikers' involvement spread, not in headlines but in whispers of gratitude and relief among those who had suffered quietly. One afternoon, weeks later, the bikers prepared to leave town. The sun was bright, the sky clear, and the road ahead stretched wide and open. The boy stood with his mother at the edge of the street, waving as engines started. He rode his bicycle in a small circle, laughing freely for the first time, the sound carrying over the rumble of motorcycles. His mother stood taller now, strength returning to her posture, her eyes shining with tears she did not try to hide. Rourke watched them, feeling a rare sense of peace settle over him. He had spent years believing that the road was the only place he belonged, that stopping meant facing ghosts best left behind. But in helping this family, he realized that sometimes the road led exactly where it needed to, not away from pain, but toward purpose. As the bikers rode off, the town returned to its rhythm, but something fundamental had shifted. Kindness had interrupted cruelty. Strangers had become protectors. A simple act, buying a rusted bicycle from a hungry child, had unraveled a web of injustice and reminded everyone involved that even the smallest gestures could carry enormous power. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion can change lives in ways we may never fully see, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Timeless Soul Story. Your engagement helps spread these messages of hope and humanity to others who need them. And before this story ends, we have one special request. Please comment below and share what kindness means to you, or a moment when someone's compassion changed your life. Your words may inspire someone else to believe again. The road stretched on, the engines faded into the distance, and the afternoon sun continued its steady journey across the sky. But for one boy, one mother, and a town that had quietly suffered, that day would always be remembered as the moment everything began to change.